Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the conference call to discuss Q4 and FY21 results hosted by Elara Securities Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Harshit Kapadia from Elara Securities Private Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malaika. A very good evening to everyone. On behalf of Elara Securities, we welcome you all for the Q4 FY21 and FY21 conference call of HPL Electric and Power Limited. I take this opportunity to welcome the management of HPL Electric and Power, represented by Mr. Gautam Seth, Joint Managing Director. We will begin the call with a brief overview by the management, followed by a Q&A session. I'll now hand over the call to Mr. Seth for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Harshit. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you present on the call to discuss our financial results for Q4 and financial year 21. Before we discuss the company's financial and business performance, I hope all of you and your family and loved ones are healthy, safe and sound. HPL maintained its strong momentum gained during Q3 FY21 and delivered the highest quarterly revenue in the last 8 quarters at 308 crores in FY21 Q4. Thanks to healthy performance in both metering and consumer B2C segments. The company's consolidated revenues surged by 26% quarter-on-quarter and 45% year-on-year. The metering business, as expected, experienced improved performance in Q4 FY21 than the previous 3 quarters due to the rise in inspections and dispatches. The metering business posted a revenue of rupees 142 crores, thereby recording a notable growth of 93% year-on-year and 29% quarter-on-quarter. The company expects good traction in the meter business in FY22 with an increase in inspections and inquiries. The smart meter segment is a sunrise sector, and HPL is well equipped to tap the opportunities present in this segment with growing emphasis on installing the smart meters by the SEBs and the government. With a focused thrust on the latest R&D, we are continuously strengthening our smart meter technological base, targeting to be the market leaders in the smart meter segment. The consumer business recorded revenues of rupees 166 crores in Q4 FY21, registering a double-digit growth of 24% year-on-year and 20% quarter-on-quarter, led by a stupendous performance by the lighting segment and wire and cable segment. The lighting segment revenue surged by 31% year-on-year and 37% quarter-on-quarter to rupees 89.2 crores in the fourth quarter. The wire and cable segment revenue at a healthy rate of 99% year-on-year and 31% quarter-on-quarter to 26.3 crores in the same period. The revenue share of the consumer segment, the B2C segment, stood at 61% during Q4 FY21. We have a diversified portfolio of electrical equipment catering to various needs of the market and are confident about the long-term growth trajectory of the consumer segment, fueled by a pickup in the economic activity, improved consumer sentiments, and increased government funding. The company's order book stands at 704 crores, ensuring revenue visibility for the current year, despite the lockdown in the first quarter of the current financial year, which has caused a few disruptions. We have recently won an order of over 372 crores for switchgears, wires, and other related accessories, enhancing our position as one of the leading electrical equipment manufacturers in the country. Another area where HPL is looking to capitalize for future revenue growth is exports. We are happy to disclose that the wide product range of HPL, backed by world-class in-house R&D capabilities helped to gain 69% year-on-year growth in exports. Our EBITDA margin grew by 62% year-on-year to 44 crores in FY21 Q4. The EBITDA margins expanded by 146 basis points year-on-year to 14.2% during the quarter, owing to various cost rationalization initiatives and the implementation of lean methodology. We also witnessed improvement in the EBITDA margins during FY21. Our PAT grew to 14 crores in Q4 FY21. HPL incurred a low capex in FY21 and hopes to maintain its low capex stance as it has adequate capacity for fueling its future growth. Looking beyond the short-term challenges, the company is eyeing huge opportunities in the smart metering and consumer segment. HPL is armed with a diverse product portfolio, state-of-the-art technology, and capacity for tapping the opportunities in the industry. The company continues to focus on widening and strengthening its touch points and distributor base as it remains positive on the growth trajectory of the consumer segment. Overall, HPL is confident of growing and creating sustainable value for its stakeholders. I would now request the operator to open the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The first question is from the line of Vijay Sardar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Congratulations on good set of number. So just wanted to understand. How is the thing shaping up on the metering side? Our government order which got delayed on account of COVID, as well as there was some bit of slowdown when you spoken last. You said there is some bit of slowdown that you expected. So are those orders now coming, or how is the RFQ happening there? If you can dwell more on that smart metering, that will be great.
All right, sure. Yeah. So if you look at when we look at the metering business, I'll just take you back about a couple of quarters. Since the last lockdown, the meter business started off very slow. But by the time we came to the third quarter, the activity had started picking up. And we had also talked about the fourth quarter being a good complete quarter for the metering. So in terms of revenue, in terms of orders, and even activities with regard to the tendering had really picked up during that time, and it was expected to continue like that. When we look at right now the tendering inquiries, what are there, I can say it is probably at an all-time highest right now in terms of the number of tenders which are there, and also in terms of the smart meter tenders which have come out. So we are currently seeing tenders and inquiries coming out from the central government for the smart meters, and as well as various state governments which have come out with the smart meter tenders. And this is over and above the regular meter tenders which are already in float, which are by the various state governments. So in terms of activity, in terms of the tenders which have come out and which are under evaluation, that activity is on a very quite a high right now. When we look at the order closures, there we have seen certain slowdown during the first lockdown, and also during the past 2 months, where most of the due to the lockdown, the second wave, not much activity has happened in the utility side. So most of the tenders which are ongoing have been postponed. But nevertheless, we see them to be, by second quarter or third quarter, most of these tenders would get finalized. And if that happens, it would be a fairly very large number of tenders which are getting evaluated. If you see HPL Electric's meter business, we've had a fairly good quarter as a Q4 quarter, and our order pendency as on date is almost 293 crores, so which is also fairly decent in that. But if you look forward, the business seems to be good. There would be a lot of tenders which are coming out. So in the medium or a long term, it is good. When we look at the 2 months which have the April and May which have gone by, there of course the activity has been very low, and that has been disrupted due to the second lockdown.
Manual and conventional and smart meter?
No, sorry, I missed your full question.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand, out of the inquiry that you said, if you can put a number to that first, and secondly, what is the ratio between the conventional and electronic smart meter? And third, what is our kind of winning ratio if we bid for a certain project? Means what is our, like, are we winning 20-25% of the bidded portion?
Yeah, sure. So if you look at, in terms of the pending inquiries, I can just put a estimated value, because that would be anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 crores. And with smart meters, obviously, this the value goes much higher in this. In terms of the inquiries, currently, if you look at on a value terms, it is about almost 50-50 in terms of the smart meter and the conventional electronic meters. That is how the breakup of the orders are, or the inquiries are.
And in terms of this order, mostly are from the central government or mix of state government? So 2,200 crore you said is all about conventional, or is put together both?
No, it is put together. It's an estimated value, because the value is finally determined by how the tender, how are people quoting, and the final orders what they are giving. But approximately this would be, if you compare with the last couple of quarters, I would say the inquiry level is at a much higher level, and it could be anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 crores. It can be even more than that.
Okay, and basically, sir, what is our winning ratio in this?
We have been maintaining an over 20 to 23%. That is what has been estimated by even Frost and Sullivan and other reports which are there. But roughly, I would say, going forward, we definitely would look at least let's say 20 to 25% share in the smart meter market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Thank you. I will come back again in queue.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karan Sharma, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go on.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Karan. Congratulations everyone for excellent numbers. 2 days back on 28th, our finance minister has announced 3.03 lakh crore on reform for power distribution schemes, which includes 25 crore smart meters. So my question is, can our company also get some of these related orders, like directly or indirectly? And my other question is, we received a notification a few days back, like approval and production clearance from private distribution company. So I would like to know, what is this private distribution company? Like, why do we need some approval from private distribution company?
Okay, so yeah, thank you. So if you see, the government has announced 2 days back, they have announced some kind of a help and support to the DISCOMs. Basically, it's about 3,03,000 crores, and that is based on the reform-based result-linked power distribution scheme, which is for the DISCOMs. And this of course, is based on individual DISCOMs matching up to what kind of results they are doing in the reforms. And basically, this is also for purchasing certain equipment, which are like the smart meters, feeder pillars, and other the overhead line. So smart meter has been a very important aspect for the central government to improve the health of the overall utility. And the figure what we have been always talking about, the bigger opportunity of smart meters is for this 25 crore smart meters which needs to be installed. So day before they have just reiterated the importance of that and also given out a way of funding to the various DISCOMs, out of which about 97,000 crores will be the central share and balance will be at the state level. So I think the details are awaited of this thing, but definitely it will help the utilities in terms of their liquidity and will help equipment suppliers like us with a better and more steady cash flow. The second thing on the other thing regarding the use of the NB IoT, I will just explain that the smart meters are using various forms of communication, be it an RF technology or cellular or other things. There is now this is the first time being used in India where through a cellular operator, a company like us and a private utility, we have worked together to create a much more robust and a much more efficient way of communication through the narrow band IoT. And with this sort of communication, there will be the communication will be much more robust, much more steady, faster, and it can carry much more data. And with this, the meter gets connected directly to the cellular tower, and thereby it gets transmitted to the server of the utility. So it's in the long run, it's going to be much more economical. And by us getting the approval was that this was something that the new technology was getting tried and tested, and we have integrated it. We have worked with the cellular provider in this. It was Reliance Jio, with whose technology we worked on this, integrated with our smart meter and with the utility, the IT infrastructure and the software. And in the long run, we feel that this will become a reference for even other utilities adopting this technology.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We would like to remind participants that you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Kritika Jain from Frequent Investment. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and thank you for taking my question. So my first question is, do you expect the revenue momentum that HPL has gained during Q4 FY21 to continue in FY22? And my second question is, how do you see export business potential? Kindly explain how your R&D strength is aiding you for export markets. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kritika. In terms of revenue, we have seen a steady increase in revenue right from the second quarter, and there have been momentum across our product lines and across our various business segments, and that momentum has gone on to increase right from Q2 to Q3 and thereafter well in Q4. Now, when we look at the Q1, unexpectedly and with something which was beyond anyone's control, we have seen almost the first 2 months really getting locked down and getting washed away. So the momentum definitely has been broken right now. But looking as we go ahead, in Q2 we see the revenues to come back to hopefully to the levels of the pre-COVID level, and that's what we see it. Since the last lockdown, we have seen while we came up, it took us almost about 6 months to come back. But I think this time, with already our prior, knowledge and the way we have seen the pandemic behave, we would look at to come back much faster than this. I personally believe that in the consumer segment, there is a pent-up demand right now which will get unleashed. So the revenues will pick up definitely. On the metering side, again, we see we are already having the orders at hand. So some more activities already starting in June. So by the next quarter, well within Q2, we hope to see the revenues come back. Overall, based on the last 12 months of working, we have been very quite bullish and positive on the overall business scenario and our internal workings as well, where we see our products in terms of sales and in terms of the marketing and the reach to really grow. So like that. So we would continue to maintain that positive outlook, barring the 2 months which has gone due to the lockdown. In terms of exports, despite the various lockdowns, what we have seen last year, we still have been able to maintain a steady order flow and sales of in terms of our international business. Now, this is of course this was possible due to the last 2 years working by our factories on various technologies. We have been investing in a lot of new products, and as you know, reaching out to almost 45 countries. So we are dealing with various international standards. There are a lot of local requirements in each country which need to be adapted to. So our high technology products coupled with the kind of manufacturing infrastructure what we have, which is able to adopt and change the products as per the customer needs. So I think that has helped us to penetrate in the market. We have been growing in the last 2 years, but this year, post the lockdown, we definitely saw a much faster growth. And even going forward in this year, we see our export sales to really rise exponentially. And we've already seen a good first quarter as well. So hopefully, this is a segment where in future the company can really develop the international business and look for a better revenue and margins from this business.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's it from my side.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shah from SS Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello.
So there's a disturbance coming from your.
Is my voice audible now?
Yes, sir. Now you may go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I have 2 questions from my side. What is our current overall capacity utilization, and till how can we maintain our low capex stance? And can you guide us when can we go for the next capacity expansion plan?
Yeah, all right. Thank you. So, currently we can say our capacity utilization is anywhere between 70 to 75%. Over the past couple of quarters, we have seen an improvement, and Q4 has been a much better quarter in terms of the capacity utilization. As I said in my opening remark also, the capex has been at a little lower end in the last financial year, because earlier in the last 2 to 3 years we have been doing a sufficient amount of capex, and so that has resulted in the increase in business and coming with us focusing on a lot of new products and new ranges. So that is happening. But currently in this in the year going forward also, we just hope to see the maintenance capex only and not any major capex to happen.
Okay, so the maintenance capex would be again in the range of 15 to 20 odd crores?
Yes, yeah, but it should be around that.
Okay. That was helpful answer. I'll come back in the queue.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Vijay Sarda, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to understand on the overall working capital cycle. So what we've been seeing in our company all throughout is we are having a kind of working capital cycle which is very, very high. So basically, if I look at the receivables as well as the inventory which is more than 950 crore, whereas our turnover last year was around 875. So I'm just trying to understand how we are trying to better it, and what is it going to be going forward.
If you see the nature of business, we have two larger segments. One being the metering, which is primarily supplied to the utilities, and the other is on the trade side, which goes in through the dealers and distributors. One needs to understand both these segments in a much more detail. If you look at the utilities, our normal debtor period is anywhere between 6 months, about 180 days. That's how it happens. And during these periods of sporadic lockdowns, we have seen this one being almost there, or maybe even going up by another 30 days. So this is how the business has always been. In terms of the inventory, if you look at it, basically we have seen the raw material costs only going up, while the WIP and the finished goods have been lower. Now here we have been focusing on two aspects. One, a lot of new products are under development, which we have seen in the fourth quarter, because during the lockdowns we have put in a lot of internal focus, because we felt that if the markets were not completely open as well, we could do a lot of work on the new products, which a lot of development and even the procurement and the production have started. The other thing, when you look at the orders which we get from the metering, here we normally like to cover the electronic procurement, especially the ICs and others, where if you understand globally, there has been certain IC shortages across the world. So right now, for any confirmed orders, we try to procure the entire lot in this. The nature of business also involves the pre-inspection clause, where a lot of material has to be ready completely, then offered for the inspection, and thereafter the dispatches happen. So the nature of business is like this. In terms of when you look at the consumer business, the debtor period has been relatively much better. In fact, we have been over the past couple of years made a lot of considerable progress on that by introducing the channel financing and other things. During lockdowns, we have seen the number of days go back in certain stages, going up and then coming down. But I think that is something of a more temporary phenomena. And as we go forward, the debtor days would again come back. But yes, the two lockdowns have to some extent increased the debtor days, especially from the channel, and that's what it is. So when we look at the increase in right from the third quarter to the fourth quarter, although the business has gone up, the overall credit cycle, the working capital has remained quite stable. And if you look at even the debt equity ratio, we have been able to insert better rate and maintain it around 0.74. So that's still at a healthy level. So, but yes, continuously we have been working on it, and in future also we hope that the working capital across the business segments would improve.
Look at your past also, we were at 150 days in terms of debtor days, and currently we are at 215 days last year, and there may be some impact of COVID definitely, but as your B2C mix is improving, this should go down rather than it is increasing. So I'm not able to understand. This year may be a slight aberration, but last year was also on the same count. So I'm not able to gauge where things are getting.
Yeah, I'll answer that. If you look at the sales of the last year, the majority of the sale has happened in the fourth quarter. Almost more than 35% of the sales has happened. So in absolute terms, if you look at the debtors, they are at a high level, but they are actually freshly billed in the fourth quarter. So that's how it remains. So if you look at, let's say, about 512 crores of debtors, almost inclusive of GST, almost 356 crores has been billed only in the last quarter. So in terms of that, because we have not seen the spread of sales in a very evenly. Like the first quarter, of course, was very low because of the lockdown, but then it picked up in the second quarter. But the majority of the sales you look at, if you look from that point of view, in absolute terms, it is that would get justified.
If we're looking at the kind of growth that you're talking about?
No, what I'm saying is that the sales of the last year has not been even on a quarterly basis. So we have a majority of the sales happening only on the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Q4, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why the debtor in absolute terms at the end of the year is at a higher level.
Okay, and what about inventory, sir? Do we need to keep inventory also on a higher side, because inventory is also quite, I mean, it's 0.5 times of the sales that we're doing. So.
Yeah, so to some extent, as I said, the nature of business is such that we need to maintain, especially in the electronics, especially because there is a lot of business we do where the orders are coming on firm prices and with firm specifications. So sometimes, yes, we have been keeping a larger inventory, but time and again we are relooking at that, and hopefully we look at it that we should be able to manage with a much better working capital cycle as we go ahead on the growth.
Fine. And so just last thing in terms of this inventory turn, do we see inventory turn going up to 3-4 times, or it will remain like 1.25 times or 1.5 times?
No, as our consumer business is also, the ratios are going up. But ideally, at least, we should be able to have an inventory turn of at least 2.5 times. I think, yes, there is definitely a scope of improvement on that, and we have been doing that. We have been working on that. I'm sure we should get somewhere there.
Following, if I can just understand.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Sarva, sir. I would request you to rejoin the queue for follow-up questions.
Okay, fine.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Priyadarshi Srivastava from Monarch Network Capital. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I just wanted to understand what will be the margin difference between a conventional and a smart meter, sir?
Yeah, what I can do, I'll give you a few the unit costs and other things.
Okay.
About the budgeted costs, but that will give you some idea. So overall, if you look at it, traditionally our metering business is anywhere between 16 to 17% on the normal conventional electronic meters. When we look at the smart meters coming in, we can see that probably rise to a 20 to 22% in terms of the margin. So definitely the scope is there, but one needs to also understand that the smart meter is dependent upon the respective specifications what each utility is doing. So right now, if you look at, there is a central utility which is out with a tender, but there are also various state utilities which have come out with their own specifications. So the margins based on the specifications could vary between each of them, but broadly the unit cost, which normally is, let's say, 1,000 rupees for a single phase meter, the conventional meter, goes up to 3,000 to 3,500 in a smart meter. Similarly, if you have the three-phase meter being around, let's say, 1,700 to 2,000 rupees, a normal three-phase meter, while if you look at the smart meter, that may probably go up to even 4,000 or 4,500. So the per unit value goes up, and that definitely has a bigger opportunity for us to gain on the margin. And then this, we are talking about the smart meter, but there are other aspects, whether they are of the communication or the IT infrastructure, which are related services which get attached to the smart meter. So definitely the business potential. So although we'll see the quantities go down, but the values will really jump up per unit value, and definitely the margin should pick up.
Hello?
Yeah.
Sir, my second question is, are you looking to, you are bidding for any big project globally, some big tender or something for the coming financial year? this current financial year?
So currently, as I said earlier, there are very large tenders and inquiries floating around from the central as well as the various state governments with regard to the metering product.
No, sir, I meant not from in the country, like for the exports market.
No, in export markets right now we are focusing on normally the trade market, except the SAARC countries where we are participating in the government tenders. But other than the SAARC countries, currently we are not participating directly in any of the government tenders globally. So I think it may take some while because it's a different ballgame, and as we progress further in that, then we will probably take it up at the right time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sriram Gurjar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir, you may go ahead.
Yeah. My question to you is that, as you mentioned in your presentation, the 37% business is B2B and 63% is about B2C. So as your open order book is mentioned, so can you give a breakup of
the open disturbance coming from your line, sir?
Do you hear properly?
Yes, sir. Now you may go ahead. There was a slight disturbance coming before.
Yeah. Thank you first of all, congratulations for a fantastic quarter. I have a question regarding your order book stands at about 700 crore, and you have a 63% business coming from B2C and 37% from B2B as mentioned in the presentation. So this order book, can it be broken down into B2B and B2C segment if possible?
If you see the B2B segment, we are very clearly giving it that includes the meters for the utilities as well as the orders coming in from the central government agency, which is the EESL. Now, EESL is, of course, a very large procurement agency by the government. So that is what we are classifying as the B2B. And normally, if you have to just do a simple thing, almost the 300 crores of orders of meters are all from the utilities, barring maybe 5 or 10 crores, which could be from the trade market. The balance are all orders from the trade or different, it could be various projects or other things, which we are right now classifying as a non-meter in that. So that is it. Of course, the large order which we have got for the low-cost housing are all classified into switchgears and the wires.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shah from SS Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity once again. So HPL, as mentioned previously, you have stated that our debt to equity is at around 0.7:1. So what are your plans? Do you have any debt repayment plans?
Not when you look at the debts, this thing immediately we don't see it coming down. Although we would like to have a strong growth, keeping the debt at the similar level. But on a longer term, at least we do see, or we are now working out that how at least the consumer business can become debt free in maybe, let's say, in the 3-4 years going ahead. But right now, that is something what we would like to have. Of course, it requires a lot of strategizing and working. But I'm sure in the long term, we should be able to work out something, and at least looking at the way the business, that kind of business is structured, we should be able to work out and come with a way. Anyway, our long-term debt is very low. The entire borrowing is more on the working capital, which is again based on the current business and based on the stocks and debtors.
Okay, and that was helpful. And so one more, if there's one more question, if I may be allowed. So our EBITDA margins are in the range of 14%. So do you see any, is there any scope of expansion in the coming years?
No. If you look at from the last couple of quarters, I think in few quarters we have started coming up to the 13.5%, 14%. Earlier it was at a much more subdued level. So although as a company we are always striving to improve our margins and look at it in a better way, but on a sustainable level, I would say yes, 13.5%, 14% is right now looking at that, because one has to also keep in mind that globally there has been a certain commodities going up, and even with the cost of business going up in various things. But post the last lockdown, internally we have put in a lot of different programs where we are looking to have a much more leaner organization and leaner manufacturing, even reviewing all the operational costs. So therefore, we are able to maintain or even grow the EBITDA margins. So right now, on a sustainable basis, I would say 14% is something what you would see in the coming quarters.
That was very helpful. Thanks, and all the best for the future.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harshit Kapadia from Elara Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity and congratulations for good set of numbers. A couple of questions from my side. Just wanted to check with you the initial remarks you mentioned that you expect some pent-up demand post Q1. Do you find that there would be a difference in the demand recovery, that we have seen in the first lockdown, and possibly second lockdown would be much more lower? Is that something that you read from your market?
Yeah, I would say there would be certain difference, because last year, if you look at the increase, and that increase almost came very suddenly, that as we started off in May or June, whenever. So the business grew up. Then that was, I would believe, based on two factors. One, a large pent-up demand being there. The second, that the unorganized segment, that business started getting converted to the much more branded and the organized players. So companies like us also gained during that. Right now, when we look at this one, there would definitely be a pent-up demand, because although certain industries have been working, but a large part of the markets were still closed. And then the effect was into various states, like we have seen even Kerala or Tamil Nadu or even Maharashtra being extendedly locked down, and then parts of other countries as well. So the pent-up demand would definitely come back, but maybe the shift from the unorganized to the organized may not, that part of thing may not happen in the second lockdown. So there could be a change in the demand pattern which will come out. But I think with everyone looking at the business activity to resume, so I would still be quite optimistic on this and look at that the business would pick up, and I think with our teams also daring to go. So I'm sure we are looking at the things very positively. Only if let's say a third lockdown down the line happens, that could affect this. But otherwise, on a normal terms, like looking at a good double-digit growth, I think that should be easily possible under the present circumstances.
And in a related question, so has your expectation at the start of the quarter, that is, let's say post-March, whatever was your expectation, by how much it would have come down or revised downward after the second lockdown? You can give a sense on that.
No, sorry, can you just repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so at the start of the quarter, as in at the end of March, you may have estimated that FY22 may have grown, should grow by X amount. And because of this second lockdown, it would have hurt a bit, May and June. So by how much is your expectation come down, sir? Can you give a sense for FY22?
So we were, I said, maybe to just quantify a number may be difficult, but the sense what we were getting when we were in the fourth quarter, right from Jan to March, that definitely there was something that we were expecting a very good growth across all our product segments, and overall there was quite a good feel good, overall in the market and the way we were positioned in the market. Now, of course, we've had 2 months almost with the very low sales, and with now June also coming up. So the first quarter again, although it will be better than the first quarter of last year, but still it will be a subdued quarter. But going ahead, I would still be, I would say we would be well above this. So if, let's say, looking at a overall, at least a 15% growth in this year, net on net, looking despite the 2 months of lockdown, we still maintain a good growth rate going ahead. Originally, had this lockdown not happened and if everything was this thing, then we would have probably been looking at a much more higher growth here, for sure.
And second thing is on the commodity inflation. We have seen, companies within your sector taking significant price hike. And so you would have also taken a price hike as well. So are you all completely covered at gross margin level, or do you expect some more price hike to happen possibly in July or August? What is your sense?
No, we have been continuously passing on the because this needs to be answered based on different product segments. So if you look at the wires, probably since the last 1 year, we must have had maybe 8 to 10 different price increases happening. So based on how the price increase is happening with a time lag. So if you look at as the increase happens, maybe by the time it gets passed on to the channel and the customer, there could be certain gaps. But continuously that has been happening. Even switchgears, we have had the price increase almost 2 times in a matter of almost 4 months. So that's again like that. So I would say right now, looking at the current pricing, what is going on, we have done the price increases and there's nothing which is pending from our side. But then it depends how the commodities react. So if it again goes up, so definitely we will also have to review the pricing once again for that.
Understood, sir. Understood. So what would be the quantum of hike you would have taken in your wire segment and switchgear segment, sir? Put together, any sense?
Now, in the switchgear segment, of course, we are talking about hundreds of SKUs, different varieties of them. But in both of them, you can say almost ranging from 10% to almost 24% in 2 different lots. So the prices have gone up depending upon the impact the commodity plays on the product segment. Similarly, but wires has been much more. But each time the increases is anytime between 3 to 5%. But the frequency has been much higher in the wire segment.
Right. And
in fact, last time also I had said in the last call that after many years we have seen certain increase happening even in the lighting segment, because LEDs over the years we have basically been seeing the cost coming down and down each time. But this year, I'm talking the year ending FY21, we have seen certain increases happen for the LED products as well.
Okay. And so this final question from my side on the large order that you received from the low housing project in Andhra Pradesh. Now, is this order, sir, by when it will be executed completely? And second, what could be the margins? Will it be at the similar margin which you have, or it could be margin dilutive, sir?
No, in terms of the dispatch schedule, we would expect about 50% of that to be executed in the current year, and the 50% goes to the next year. In fact, I think since we have got it, because of the lockdown, almost for 2 months, the whole process is, you can say, shifted by almost by 1 quarter. But yes, there may be, we need to anticipate some more lockdowns or certain maybe delays happening, but broadly you can say about 50% of that should get executed within the current year. So in terms of the margin, I would say it is, we are, because these are larger orders and gives us a good opportunity to play on the economies of scale. So we have been working on it, but I think roughly we should be able to get it in line with our existing margins across the various segments. So we should be able to get it to there.
Okay, sir. Okay, this was very helpful, sir, and wishing you all the best for your FY22 and FY23.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I think, Malika, do we have any questions?
Can I just give a reminder, sir? We would like to remind participants that you may press *1 to ask a question. Participants, to ask a question, you may press *1 now.
Yes.
As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Harshit Kapadia for closing comments.
We would like to thank Mr. Seth for giving us an opportunity to hold this call and answering all the questions very patiently. We also thank all the investors and the analysts for joining for this call. Any closing remarks, sir, that you would like to highlight for HPL and for the year?
Yeah, so I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and attending our FY21 earning con call. So HPL, I would just like to reiterate that HPL has a strong product portfolio, and we are likely to benefit from the growing smart meters and the B2C segment, and simultaneously create value for our esteemed stakeholders. So for anything, you can all reach out to Dickenson or us directly should you have any further queries. So I wish you all a great evening and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Elara Securities Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.